Hey gardening friends, it's Vicky. Just another progress video with the garden. We do actually have things starting to bloom now, so that's super exciting. Right here in front of me is the Jade Parade sand cherry. It's not quite in full bloom yet, but it's getting there and it's really pretty. I wish that it was like morning or afternoon. I'll have to come back at a better time of day. But I just happened to be here gardening today and I wanted to get a little bit of a video. Hang on a second. I just saw this blow by. I just planted 12 of these. They were half off at a Home Depot and I thought they were really pretty. So I grabbed those and just planted them. So we'll get to look forward to those in the summertime. Anyway, on this side, I've got one of those peonies that I had mentioned before. I wasn't even sure if they were going to come up. These are the ones that are kind of like under a layer of rock. So I'm going to give them this last spring. If they don't spring, if they don't bloom this spring, then I'm going to move those just to a different part of my yard. I might move them anyway, because like I was telling you in the last video, I want this to grow all the way out on the sides, and then I'm gonna have to trim it on the front just to keep it kind of contained. But that sand cherry has just really pretty structure. Like even in the winter when there's nothing on it, I like the look of the branches and stuff. So down here looks super barren. Nothing is really growing in yet, but I do have some tulips in bloom. I really like this color. It's like a soft yellow with pink. Very nice tulips. So those are cute. This isn't super exciting, but I did notice some green at the bottom of these lavender. So I guess if I'm patient enough, they'll come back. At least those, that one and this one. I don't think I saw any on that one in the middle. Again, I think these are just all alliums right here, but no buds coming up yet. And this is my silver mound artemisia. Last year, I don't know if you remember, but it was growing like way out kind of all through here. And I thought maybe it was spreading, but it's come up from the same little mound. So it all died back in the winter, which is good. I was a little bit concerned about it spreading too aggressively. So I'm happy to see that it's just that same little mound. And then during the season, it kind of grows throughout things, which is nice. This is that peach sky yarrow right here. And also right here, there's more coming up. I have a few more clumps of that at the rental house that I might move over here. More of these, I think it's alliums, two different kinds, I guess. Back there in the corner, I transplanted some of the oregano. I hope that it makes it, because it hasn't really rained much since then. I have a ton of tulips up here. Let's go get a closer look before we do though. These are looking pretty. This is dragon's blood sedum. The one that gets pretty reddish purple. All right, going up. So these are a red to orange. And these are the ones I mentioned before. I don't remember planting these. Look, they even have like a frilly edge and a dark center with yellow. I mean, they're very pretty and bright. It's just a little brighter than I would normally go for. These are similar, except for they don't have the frilly edge. And they look more of a pinky orange on the outside. Whereas these are more of a red with the frilly edge. Over here, I have some that are even more pink than orange, but they seem to be related to these. So it's just kind of weird how I have these different colors and different varieties, and I don't remember ordering them. So I think it was one of those situations where I ordered tulips online and they sent me the wrong ones, and that's just what I got. Keep walking along this way. So one more clump of those tulips. These have the frilly edges. I have some salvias that are starting to come into bloom. You see that? So right back here to the left of those salvias, I planted, that's where some of these dahlias went. So they'll be just kind of right along the wall back there. And I have another big clump right over there. And I am typically too lazy to dig up dahlias in the fall. And it says there's zone 8 and I'm a zone 5 or 6 depending on, we're right on the line. So anyway, dahlias should not come back in my area. However, I have this theory that if I plant them right along the wall, since the wall absorbs heat, maybe they will. And in fact, I had a couple dahlias this year that when I was planting those other ones, I found a couple that think they might be viable. Here's more of these tulips. These are kind of more of an orangey yellow. Interesting. This is the lamb's ear transplants. They always look rough for a few weeks after they transplant, but I know they're going to make it. They're so tough. So I'm not too worried about those. I've decided that I don't like the hyacinth in here. Let me get back down again so you can get an overall picture. So as I'm looking at the garden here, sorry, I don't know what happened. As I'm looking at the garden here, I don't like the hyacinth. I don't like the pink and purple. It doesn't go with the rest of my color palette at this time of year. And although I do plan to move the tulips out, I still think I don't like the pink and purple. It's just something about the hyacinths. So I'm planning to remove those. I'm going to leave the white ones though. Those ones don't bug me. So that's how the terrace is looking today. I planted a few more bulbs. Let me go show you. Oh, look at these peonies. These ones were barely out of the ground last time we were here. And look at them now. They're like 1.5 feet tall. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so in this bed over here, you can see that I got the leaves from like here over to like there. That was like 5 or 6 bags worth of leaves, by the way. And then in this area, so you can see that I have some, these are those, I think they're called stargazer lilies. They're the tall ones that have like white and pink and smell kind of bad, in my opinion. I've got a clump of those over there and a clump of those over there. And then last year, right here in the middle, I had elephant ears, which I did not get dug up before winter came. So once again, that's something that I think died. I went in this center area and I planted 20 Casablanca bulbs. So those are the lilies with the white bulbs or white flowers. And then right here, last year I planted a pink Ito peony. And it didn't bloom last year. I don't even know if it'll bloom this year. I mean, sometimes when you get stuff from bare root, it takes 2 or 3 years before you start getting anything. But this did get to a decent sized, like, green little plant last year. I'd say it was probably like 1.5 feet around. So I'm hoping this at least gets much bigger this year. Oh, here's some of those, what did I just tell you I planted? Oh my God, what did I just say? Casablanca. Yeah, there's a couple of the Casablanca lilies. So anyway, I just kind of wanted those to like fill in this central area in between that clump of stargazer lilies and that clump of stargazer lilies. Since I'm not going to have the elephant ears coming back up, those will just kind of be in the middle. And then I'll have that Ito peony that is pink right there. I still got to get all the leaves and cut down the rose on this side, trim that back. And then over here, I've got to get all these leaves up, and I've got an astilbe bed kind of buried under there. Over here, I have some roses that are cut back. I planted a couple new cheap ones from Home Depot and Lowe's. I don't remember the names. They're just whatever it said, heavily scented or strong scented or whatever. I bought them, and they were pink and orange and white. So I've got a few of those. And then all my other ones I just trimmed back. But the reason I bought some of those from Home Depot and Lowe's is because I lost multiple roses this past year, which is really sad. But I know it's a combination of just mostly not having enough water. So since June of last year, we were in a severe drought and we just barely got any rain or snow at all. So, and really we're still like this, it should be raining constantly right now. We're in spring and we've barely gotten anything. Like our ground is super dry and I have no water hose. So the reason I went ahead and planted the roses though is because technically they're still dormant. They're still in their, kind of wake up phase. And we should be getting more rain here soon. And then they'll just wake up in the hole that they're in. And assuming we get a normal amount of rain this year going forward, it should be fine. I guess I shouldn't assume, but I'm too impatient to wait. So I need to get all these leaves cleaned up. I still need to get this iris, the dead iris and stuff cleaned up. All of that back here. But this bed is one of the last that I really need to do. This whole area. And then this area in my shade garden. So I'm going to try to get those two things done tomorrow. And then really I'm kind of done. I'm kind of ready for spring and for things to just fill in. And then we're just going to have to wait for our house to get built, which should be happening all summer. So that's my little progress report for today. Hope you guys are all enjoying your spring. Finally is feeling like spring here. Like it's still getting into like the 30s and 40s at night, but not like freezing. And we don't have any freezing on the forecast for the next 10 days. And then we're basically at the end of April, so we should be totally good by then. So it's just really exciting when you live in a place that's freezing 6 months of the year like we have. When you finally get past that point and you know that you don't have to worry about that for a while. That's awesome. So I will talk to you guys next time. Or maybe at the other house. Well, I'm over at the rental house and I decided to take a look around the yard to see what is blooming, if anything. And I discovered these are almost the same tulips as what I have at my other house, only these are not fringed. And they're different than the orange unfringed ones I have. They're really pretty. But again, a very bright red, not my typical go-to. I mentioned before about how this orange daylily is really invasive in our area, and I'm pretty sure that you see that and that and that. It's kind of a grassy looking clump, and it's all along this fence growing over here. Pretty sure all of that is that orange daylily. We'll know in a couple of months when it starts shooting up stalks, if I'm right. There's a whole grouping of iris over here. Bearded iris. I have no idea what kind it is. So that'll be fun to be surprised by whatever comes up. Although these are looking pretty small, and I don't know that they're going to bloom because they're really embedded in this rock. And there's this fabric liner also. Is this under it? Yeah, so I don't know. Might have to dig those out and then see what they would look like next year when they bloomed, because they may not even bloom this year. But if I were living here, that's probably what I would do, is dig all of these out, move them to a warmer place. In fact, a sunnier place. That's what I'll do with these iris before I leave here this summer. This is from the neighbor's yard. It keeps blowing over here. Over here there's a clump of peonies, and then this is Naked Lady. Sends up pink flowers in like July, but the foliage comes out now in like April, so it's kind of weird because it's like the foliage is out at a separate time than the flower. Then later on in the year it'll just be a tall stem with pink flowers on the ends, and they call them Naked Ladies. There's another bed of peony right there. Now, remember we moved in here last July, so I don't know what these peonies look like. I'm excited to see what colors and what type they are. Oh, I wanted to show you guys over here. Hang on just a second. Sorry. Okay. My winter sowing. Well, this is some asters that I divided earlier, and I'm gonna replant them, but I haven't decided where yet, so they don't bloom until like September anyway, but that's what all that is. And then I've got a ton of winter sowing here. This one is spotted bee balm. Nothing growing in that one. What else do I see? This one is blue vervain. Maybe have like one blade of grass in there. I'm trying to grow switchgrass. In here you can't really see it, but there's a bunch of different little seedlings and stuff that I've got in here. This one, if you can kind of see those, is also blue vervain. What else do I have? This one is cardinal flower. Smooth asters. Got a bunch of orange butterfly growing in there. Butterfly milkweed. Hopefully it does okay. Got some partridge pea in here too. I need to take these off. I've really just been waiting for it to get warm enough. We only have one more night that's kind of cold, down to like 37. And then I should be able to kind of uncover everything and let stuff start fending for itself. I'm gonna go around this way. Here's that rose I showed you guys last year. I'm gonna attempt to move it again. It's just not in a good place, but last year the ground was super hard. I have a better shovel now. It's called a root slayer, and I found that it is much easier to move things. Here's this little side bed. I don't know what these are. I think maybe some sort of a Siberian iris maybe. So I'm excited to see those bloom. We got some daffodils here. And this, I'm not sure, maybe Siberian iris as well, I'm hoping. This badly needs to be divided. So I was going to do it last fall. I didn't get around to it. Now I want to see what it looks like. Sorry. Before I divide it, because I'm afraid if I divide it now, it won't bloom. And I want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to let it bloom first, and then I'll divide it. And then out here, this is my bed that I planted last fall. Which clearly I still haven't raked all the leaves out of it, so you can't see much, but there's some daffodils growing here. I didn't plant those are already there. Looks like some tulip right there. These are yarrow. This looks like dianthus right here in the middle. And then this in the front that I'm watering. That's either blanket flower or maybe that might be coreopsis actually. I planted some yellow coreopsis, and then there's a bunch of blanket flower planted all along the front. But I don't know if that's going to come back from seed or like from the roots. I don't have a lot of experience with blanket flower. And then just a reminder, I have cone flowers in this pot thing that I hope overwintered. We'll see. I didn't plant any of this stuff back here that's like grassy looking. Not really sure what it's going to do. I need to get in and cut back all that dead part so that it won't quite as ugly. And then it should be blooming here soon. And then I did plant this little shrub on the end. It's got white flowers. It was called Lotus Moon Pearl Bush. And it's actually quite pretty. One more area I want to show you. Sorry for the water noise. I thought I would kill two birds with one stone here. So up here, I have some tulips. They're all white tulips that are planted. And then I had a few more of my lamb's ear from the other house. Remember, I was separating them all to make that border? Well, I had some extra left. And I wasn't sure if they were going to make it because they were really dead looking. But lamb's ear is so strong, it'll fool you quite frequently. And as you can see, I have some there and here. I planted a bunch of them, so I wouldn't be surprised if more comes up than that. And then I don't know what these little seedlings are, but they're popping up all around the area where I had the Dichondra Silver Falls last year. So I'm hoping that maybe that's what that is, because that would be cool. And then I have this. Let me pull this tag out, sorry. I planted this last year. Potentilla, cinquefoil. It was an extremely long trailing plant. I don't know that that's the right tag for it, but it did have yellow flowers like that. And anyway, it was just a trailing plant and it was really cute. I had it in one of my containers at the other house and I didn't want to get rid of it, and it said it was like zone 3 or 4. So I stuck it right here and I'm hoping it comes back. It should, but we'll find out soon. Okay folks, with that, I think that will be the end of our video today, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.